Hola, clase! So I've made this presentation, this screencast, to explain the second grammar point of Chapter 1, Capítulo 1, gramática 2. It's called Los pronombres y el verbo ser. And that is pronouns, as in subject pronouns, and the verb ser. Now we've already been using the verb ser, you just haven't known it. So we're going to explain that today, and I'm going to go through step by step and help you fill in your notes, which is your first assignment. So let's take a look at what the book page looks like. Oh, there it is. So if you need to know how to get to it, it's Capítulo 1, gramática, and then el verbo ser. And this is what the book page looks like. Gives you the forms of the verb ser. We'll talk about that in a second. And if you want to read through, it gives you use of subject pronouns. But it doesn't actually explain what they mean. So that's what I'm going to do with this presentation. And I'm going to show you some tips on how to use the subject pronouns. So this is the first page of your notes. And you want to fill this in exactly as you see here. So you can pause this or rewind it or do whatever you want to do. I want you to fill this in exactly as you see it here. This is going to be the key to a lot of things that you're going to study coming up. These are the subject pronouns, okay? They're called subject pronouns because it's the subject of the sentence. I told you, you're going to learn a lot about English from studying Spanish. You're going to learn more about your own language. The subject is who is doing the action of the sentence. You need to know how to say these things. Now, it's much different in Spanish. Sometimes you can leave these off. We'll talk about that in the next slide. But you need to know how these connect. You need to know this chart. You see how this is set up here? 3 down this way, 3 down this way. Everything on this side of the chart is singular. That means it's only one person doing it, okay? One person. I, you, he, she, and then usted is you, sir, or you, ma'am. So these are your translations. The way you say I is yo. Tu, with an accent, is you. El, ella is she, and then usted, and you'll see it abbreviated UD, is you, sir, or you, ma'am. It's being polite. It's a way of saying you. Everything on this side is plural, meaning it's more than one person. So it's this person plus another person. So me plus somebody else. That's we. Nosotros or nosotras if it's all girls. We. Vosotros or vosotras if it's all girls is y'all, and I put y'all there on purpose. This is only used in Spain. Okay? So a lot of times you'll see this is going to be italics or it'll be grayed out. Okay? That's because you're only going to hear that form and that verb form when we get to the next slide when you're in Spain. Most of the time to say you all, we come down here and we use ustedes. Okay? Ellos, ellas, notice that double L is like a Y sound. It means they, and then ustedes, abbreviated UDS. You'll see it UDS all the time. Very rarely is it written out like that. It means you all. So, me plus somebody else, that's what we do. He and somebody else, that's what they do, right? These are just the subject pronouns. Every language has these. We have them in English. So just understand, you have to commit these to memory. You have to know what these mean. Now let me explain this first, second, third person. First person is I. Anything that I am doing is something from first person. Second person is you. And now third person, it's not me and it's not you. So it's a third person. It's he, she, or even it. Now, you is confusing a little bit with usted because it is the third person in Spanish, even though you is really the second person. Hope that doesn't confuse you too much, but just try to commit this chart to your memory. It's really, really important. I can't stress that enough. Let's scroll down here and talk about this. There are 4 ways to say you in Spanish. That is going to throw your brain for a loop. I understand that. The thing is, Spanish is very, very organized. It's way more organized than English. And you'll see after this explanation that even though there are 4 different ways of saying you, it actually makes more sense than English. Because they use them in very specific situations, whereas we just say you, 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 you. Doesn't matter who we're talking to. 2 is informal for family, friends, people of the same age, right? So somebody that you'd see, another student in the hall, you'd use the to form to say you. And you'd use that. More importantly, what we're going to talk about in the next slide is that you'd use the to form of the verb, because the verb form has to change depending on who you're talking to and who's doing the action. Usted is you, sir, or you, ma'am. And we use usted when we want to show respect or talk to people that we don't know. So technically, if you were speaking to me as a teacher, you'd be using usted, and you'd be using the usted form of the verb, which is that third person. The other one is ustedes, which is you guys or you all. So ustedes can be formal or informal, but if you're talking to more than one person or saying that more than one person, you guys are doing something, you're going to use ustedes. And then the fourth one, the most rare, is vosotros, which is you guys or you all, but it's used in Spain only, and it's informal, okay, meaning people that you know, people that are the same age. So when we say formal, that's people that we're equal to. When we say informal, and when we say formal, that's fancy. That's when you're trying to show respect. So usted and ustedes, you know what that means now. Okay, you sir, you ma'am. But ustedes means you all, and that's going to be used way more than vosotros. Vosotros is Spain only. Okay, so those are the subject pronouns, and like I said, you're going to have to get very familiar with this chart and how it looks, because it's going to become very common, and you really, really have to know what the subject pronouns mean. Okay, so now we have the verb ser, which is to be. We've already been using this, but we haven't known how to say I am, or we are, or you are. We've really been using es and son. We've been making a lot of descriptions saying that people are smart, tall, ambitious, nationality, Dominicanos, right? And we've really been using es and son, which is only 2 of the 6 forms. Now, verb forms are called conjugations. This is a way bigger deal in Spanish than it is in English. In English, most of our present tense verb forms only have 2 forms. For instance, I speak, you speak, but then he speaks. See how we put the S on there? So there is conjugation in English, but in Spanish, every verb has different forms like this. So they all mean a different thing, okay? You have to change the whole form to make it mean something different. And I will explain to you, I'll give you the meanings of these as we go through. But I want you, again, to recognize this chart. 3 here, 3 here. Everything on this side is one person doing it. Everything on this side is more than one person doing it. So, let's go through. The yo form, which we just discussed in the last slide. Yo means I. The verb is to be, so yo soy really means I am. So let's write that. So now on the outside of the box are the translations to what these words actually mean. So you can see that English really is what gets in the way here, because look, R. There's so many different ways to say R. What does R mean? It doesn't mean anything in English without this word, they are. You are. It doesn't mean anything without those subject pronouns in English. Well, in Spanish, you can leave them off sometimes. Soy, what does it mean? I am. Yo soy means I am. If you leave yo off, soy still means I am. This is why I really don't want you guys to use translators, because you're going to say, oh, geez, I don't know how to say R. You're going to type R into a translator, and which one of these is it going to give you? Which one? 5 out of the 6 forms can mean R. So the Google Translate robot doesn't know what you're talking about. And at this point, you're just basically learning what you're talking about. So I really want you to connect, okay? The main thing that I want you to remember is that you cannot jump all over the place. You cannot do this. There's no such thing as yo son. See how you have to go like this? It makes a line and it makes a big mess. What you have to do is say yo soy. Yo and soy are connected. There's no such thing as tú somos. You can't do it. You see, if you start jumping all over the place here, it just makes the whole chart a mess. Okay? So as long as you realize that tú, the tú form of ser is eres. Tú eres. Look at how nice and neat. El, es. There's no such thing as el somos. See how you have to jump all the way up there? Don't do it. But again, what I want you to get committed to memory are, first thing, these subject pronouns and what they mean. What does tú mean? Well, it means you. What does nosotros mean? Well, it means we. If you can get those committed to memory, you're going to be good to go. And then the second part, what we're really studying here, is how those subject pronouns connect to these verb forms or these conjugations. Okay? Verb conjugation is going to be very important in Spanish. So, nosotros goes with somos. It means we are. There's no such thing as we is. There's no such thing. You can't do that. You cannot jump across. You have to stay in the same column here. Same little box. So there are your notes. I want you to, again, copy those exactly as you see them here. And that's your first assignment. You're going to submit those and ask any questions if you have them. And buena suerte. Good luck on your assignments.